So I'm Liz Robson, founder and CEO of Worth It, which is a social enterprise based in Leicestershire in the UK, and we work nationally and internationally with schools integrating positive psychology, coaching psychology for the early intervention and prevention of mental health problems in children and young people by increasing wellbeing and resilience. So this is not something new that I've been doing. It is new. I've been doing this for 15 years. And what I wanted to do is kind of get some key bits of stuff that I know and I've learned and that's in my training programs, and align that with the new Ofsted Inspection Framework. As you know, if you guys are in the UK, if you're not in the UK, some of the stuff about Ofsted might not be very exactly relevant, but it's still relevant because it's about how coaching helps improve wellbeing and resilience. Just a bit about me, a background of Worth It, in case you've never heard of us before. So I've been doing this, like I said, for 15 years. So in 2011, I founded Worth It, and I was literally me in the woods on a rock in the ice and snow, coaching young people who were doing a NEET, not in education and employment and apprenticeships, training program where they were doing like a forest school type thing, and I would sit on a rock and coach them. That's where I started. That's where Worth It started. And then we're doing stuff around in the mid 2011, 12, 13, 14, one-to-one coaching programs with different pots of money from our local authority. I did programs that were in school, coaching outreach, so working around reducing emotionally based school avoidance. It wasn't even called that back then. We called it coaching outreach. So helping young people through using coaching to engage in school or CAMS or other intervention. And then in 2012, I did my master's degree in coaching psychology, because I wanted to know, how is this working? How is it helping young people? How is coaching helping young people? Because my background's actually welfare to work and social disadvantage, and I'm a qualified careers advisor as well, which is why I first started in the NEET space, which has come back around, especially with the new personal development strand of the Ofsted framework and NEET prevention, because in the UK we have nearly a million unemployed young people, and schools are having to now do more around employability and NEET prevention as part of the new Ofsted framework, which I can talk about. So then I started to do group coaching programs, and then write train the trainer toolkits so other people could learn how to use coaching, because it was my passion is not me coaching as many kids as I can. My passion is increasing workforce capacity so that more and more people can learn coaching to work with students or young people in their own roles and their own settings, so more and more young people can benefit from coaching. So that's what I started to research, like, how does it work? So how can I teach this to other people? So we did that ourselves a lot in the community. We had Children in Need funding and NHS funding, and a lot of funding from the Future in Mind transformation plan, if you remember what that was, with the coalition government, which all then kind of dried up. So then in 2014, I worked in partnership with Leicestershire Healthy Schools and the local authority, and did some tier 1 training for teachers and TAs and nurses and anyone that worked with young people to use some coaching skills to improve well-being. That led to us developing our own 2-day coaching skills course. Then lockdown happened, so then we were just kind of doing inset days and traveling all around the country, teaching schools how to use wellbeing strategies and improve student resilience using coaching skills and positive psychology, working in hundreds of schools around the country doing that. And then we're still doing our targeted interventions with young people ourselves, and some workshops with students and coaching programs and things like that. And then in 2021, it was lockdown. I decided that was my moment that I've been waiting for, to make the online course that I dreamed of making. So in 2021, I piloted and got my coach training course accredited, because it was always a dream of mine to train people to become coaches to work with young people. So that's an accredited award in coach training. I'll talk more about that later. And then in 2025, I've worked in partnership with the Association for Coaching, who are our accrediting body. And now you can become a certified Worth It coach and work towards becoming accredited with an external accrediting body as a coach. I'll talk about that later. And these are just some of the people that have done our coach training and that I've partnered with over the 15 years. And now we've had over 100 people in different roles and settings working with young people trained in coaching to use that in their work and integrate it into their work with young people and students. I will talk about what that means integrated into their work towards the end of the session. I've had a couple more people join us. So as you can, what I want to kind of get across is I've not just gone, oh, Ofsted's changed. I know what will help is that I've been doing this for 15 years. 15 years ago, I said, until Ofsted changes, and this is a thing that schools have to do, then wellbeing's just going to be a nice to have or a bolt on. So what I want to share with you is some strategies and resource and evidence to show you that to raise the profile of coaching as an intervention to support student personal development, wellbeing, resilience, character, flourishing, all the buzzwords. So this is my published academic research that I published in 2016 as a result of my master's, which is what does coaching have to offer young people at risk of developing a mental health problem? So I did this study locally in Leicestershire. We've got a lot of ex-coal mining communities, worklessness, social disadvantage, and a lot of at-risk young people. Some of the young people in my study were autistic and had ADHD and were struggling with school, and they're quite vulnerable. And what I came up with was I did grounded theory, so it's voice-led research. It's led by the voices of the young people. It's not me going, here's what I want to measure, and then measuring, using a quantitative instrument to measure, does it work, yes or no. I wanted to understand how it works and how does it help young people. So I did grounded theory, which if you know Brené Brown, she's a grounded theorist. Anyway, I'll show you my diagram later. And then it was cited, my study was cited in a scoping review of mental health coaching, which is again another niche field of coaching, which is using coaching to empower young people to develop skills needed to maintain their well-being could be one of the most powerful potential applications of coaching psychology. So not all coaching is coaching psychology. Coaching psychology is coaching grounded in evidence-based psychology. Positive psychology is the science of well-being, where you're explicitly learning and using tools and interventions that have been evidenced to improve facets of well-being. Well-being is a multifaceted construct. And when you put those two things together, coaching psychology and positive psychology, they amplify each other. What we do with young people is we just kind of hope that they figure out how to be resilient and how to have good well-being without explicitly teaching them how to do that. So the coaching relationship is the container that amplifies the strategies and tools for well-being that help young people to flourish in life and have good well-being and resilience. You might have seen this diagram before. This is a bit old now because it's probably worse than this, but this is from Public Health England. In your typical class of 30 students, 1 could have experienced a bereavement of a parent, 4 could be living in a lone parent family, 5 could have a mental health difficulty, 5 could be living in absolute poverty, 7 could have self-harmed, and 11 could have experienced bullying. They're all risk factors for the development of mental health problems. 1 in 2 people have experienced trauma, and that can be a big trauma, abuse, neglect, things like that, or it can be a small trauma, a relational trauma. But we all went through COVID, which is a collective trauma. So all our kids in all our schools have experienced trauma, and we are not resourcing them with enough strategies to be able to navigate the challenges and setbacks. Being in a school environment can be quite traumatic for a lot of children just because they don't have the capacities to navigate that. So what we want to do is, through coaching conversations and coaching relationships and interventions, is increase their resources to be more resilient, because trauma isn't what happens to you, it's how you are able to respond to that, and whether you, like, one person, an event might happen to one person and they might not find that traumatic, but another young person might. So it's subjective. So somebody could be in a lone parent family and have really great well-being. It's just kind of like, you just don't know. You don't know who are the ones that are going to need intervention or not. So early intervention, again, the government in the UK finally are talking about this, but I've been talking about this again for 15 years, is about taking action as soon as possible. Most schools are so busy firefighting and dealing with, constant flare-ups of issues because things were not nipped in the bud early enough to stop it escalating. So coaching is a proactive early intervention. I know you're probably thinking, oh, we haven't got time. We haven't even got time to like go for a wee. How can we even be proactive in identifying who's going to need this intervention and giving it to them? We want to increase people's resilience and resourcefulness as a strategy for early intervention and prevention, so that we're tackling problems before they become more difficult to reverse. It's easier to sort out a low-level friendship falling out or worries about options or small academic stresses than a young person then starting to isolate themselves and then disengage from school, and then you having to then do loads of intervention to get them back into school because they've become a school avoider. Whereas if you'd got them when they were wobbling and you'd help them to build their confidence, their self-belief, their resilience at that point, maybe it's 6 coaching sessions for one half term, you've saved yourself so much extra work in the long run. So that's what the metaphor we often use is, instead of fishing people out of the river when they've fallen in and they're drowning, we stop them falling in the first place. And then you can do that through ethoses and cultures of coaching, as well as targeted coaching intervention. Sort of de facto normal approach to supporting adolescent mental health is to reduce the issues. Is like a clinical approach is like we reduce depression, reduce anxiety, or remove the negative factors that cause those things to happen, such as bullying. Like bullying prevention, for example, would be removing the problem and hoping it would prevent it happening. Whereas in our approach, in a positive psychology coaching approach, we want to promote or build capacities for well-being and resilience. So we're cultivating positive feelings through that coaching relationship. We're using that experience of that coaching relationship or in program, whatever you're going to do, to develop positive behaviors. And then we're going to develop positive ways of thinking, which then build that resilience, build that well-being, and are proactive and early prevention and act as a protective factor. It's different to removing the risk. So what I'm saying is, most people think the way to help young people with their mental health is to remove the issues. But what we do in using a coaching approach is increase capacities for well-being and resilience. And that means anyone can do it. You don't need to be a clinician. You don't need to be a therapist. Anyone has the ability to help somebody ask a coaching question and help a young person identify a solution that they already have within themselves. And in doing that, it helps protect their mental health. Public Health England's 8 principles for whole school approach to mental health and wellbeing. You'll be familiar with that. So I've been using this model again since about 2014-15. Anyone who's done the senior mental health lead training, it aligns to that. This is where I believe coaching fits as an intervention, depending on how you use it. So if you have a coaching ethos, your leadership and management supports and champions effort to promote emotional health and wellbeing, it fits there. It's also, I'm going to talk about you guys training to be coaches, so that would be staff development to support student wellbeing needs. It offers, depending on how you're going to implement coaching, it provides a targeted support, and you can also use coaching approaches and techniques and in the curriculum as well. So because you're teaching strategies to promote, so depending on how you're going to use it, it can fit into these different areas. Bit by bit. So I just wanted to align it with that. So I've used the word coaching about 50 times already, and I haven't actually said officially what it is. There's lots of different people that describe coaching in the world. John Whitmore is one of the founding fathers of coaching. So he describes coaching as unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them. So through the coaching conversation that you have with a student or a young person, you're helping them learn how to be more resourceful and have greater awareness and responsibility is the essence of good coaching. And that aligns with Ofsted, because what we want to do is have more self-reliant, responsible learners with good character. Building awareness and responsibility is the essence of good coaching. So helping develop self-awareness helps the young person to be more well, have better well-being and have good resilience, because that's how it works. Hopefully that makes sense. It's different to mentoring, it's different to teaching. I've got a slide on that later. This is my quote from my published research, and how coaching helps specifically vulnerable young people. So through the experience of coaching, young people develop accountability. Oh, it's that word again. And I know the word accountability is a bit of not a positively seen word in schools because of the high stakes accountability scrutiny culture. But in this case, we want young people to take more accountability of their thoughts, feelings, and behaviour, so that they're less dependent on the adults, they're more reliant, and then more self-reliant, and then that helps them to have better well-being and better resilience. So young people develop accountability, awareness, and increased choice and control over their thoughts, feelings, and behaviour. This results in the ability to manage situations, improve confidence, and gives them feelings of well-being. This is a quote from a young person. Coaching is stopping me from thinking about things that worry me, and I feel more confident about myself. So this is my model. You know, I said earlier, I've got a published model. This is my model. I can't go into this in loads of depth. Basically, how it works is we build a safe relationship. The coaching relationship is with a supported, safe, trusted adult. It can be a pastoral member of staff, it can be a teacher who's on training, it can be a formalized sit down and have a coaching session, or it can be a coaching ethos where you're having coaching conversations or you're having a coaching style to your teaching. They're all different applications of coaching, but the relationship with your young person should include, this is what young people say that they want: trust, non-judgment, equality, positivity, perspective, challenge, belief and hope for them, listening and asking rather than telling. That's the difference between kind of coaching and other approaches, is we're using the coaching questions to help them find their own solutions. This is about how it's applied. Ideal combination is one-to-one and group, because young people learn a lot from peer groups, and seeing it work with other young people and knowing that they're not alone. But also one-to-one coaching is much more transformational on an individual level. Group coaching, you can get more young people through the process. There's lots of factors into making that decision. And then these are the three interrelated skills and tools that they learn in the coaching program and intervention. So communication and interpersonal skills, that's one of the things that I think is underestimated as important as learned through coaching, that adolescents need more than adults because of that developmental stage that young people go through when they disconnect from the parents and the adults in their life, and they form peer-to-peer relationships that are helping them with their identity formation. But a lot of young people don't know how to communicate, and it's not just kids with SEND needs, although that's a part of it for some of them. It's they're living on their screens, they're lonely, they don't have friends, they feel ostracized from the group, and being rejected from the group makes them have anxiety, because when you're an adolescent, being part of the group is everything. But then they don't know how to have healthy friendships and things. So coaching them on how to have healthy relationships protects their well-being and prevents the onset of mental health problems, because relationships are even more important for teenagers than they are for adults. They're important for human beings to flourish in life. We're social creatures, we're pack animals. We need to be with other people. But young people are not, they need help, basically. They need help to develop those skills and abilities to have healthy, positive relationships, and they practice that in the coaching session. You can literally coach them on how to have eye contact, or you can practice, they experience a positive relationship with you, which is healing in itself. So then we have the self and emotional awareness skills and tools, where they're learning like about who they are and what matters to them, and their strengths, and what makes them more confident, and how to deal with challenges and setbacks, and how to overcome problems, and emotional awareness, and how to self-regulate, all of that stuff. And then we have the metacognition and the thinking skills, thinking about thinking helpful thoughts, reframing thoughts, self-talk, challenging things that may not be true, that they might have written themselves off because one person said this one thing once and that means it's a fact. So all just conversations and tools around helping them understand how they're thinking. Like I've been doing this for so long that I forget people don't know that you can change that. You can first of all think about what you're thinking and then change it. Like young people don't know that. Well, some adults don't know that. And then what they get out of it is a range of strategies that they can use to deal with or cope with their situations. Greater control, like I said earlier, greater choice and control of how they want to think, feel, and behave, and more confidence. And all of that helps them to feel better and happier and less stressed. Can you see how this is a protective intervention, early intervention? That increases self-regulation and accountability here. All of that through the process. So coaching is a process, usually a short-term intervention, a structured process, usually on average 4 to 10 sessions, at 50 minutes the lesson, and once a week or once a fortnight. And then that's it. If you're not working to make yourself redundant as a coach and not coaching properly, it's not about creating a lot of dependency on you. It's about moving a young person from here to here so they've got more strategies to be able to coach themselves, basically. The things a coach does is manages and maintains that relationship, listens, asks questions, raises awareness, increases personal responsibility, provides challenge and perspective, motivate and empowers. You're noticing and you're feeding back. Remember the time when you said you couldn't do that? And now I know you can do it because I've seen you do it and you've come back and you've told me X, Y, Z, that kind of thing. So you're using a structured toolkit of skills that you learn and resources that I'll give you if you do my course, that basically help you to be able to do all those things. So I've talked about wellbeing and resilience a lot. I've not clarified what they are because they're overlapping concepts, but they are different. So wellbeing means generally overall life satisfaction. Flourishing in life is having high well-being. That means feeling good, functioning well day to day and overall. Can you think of the students in your school or the kids that you work with? Do you think they're flourishing? Can you truly say that? Can you think of any children that are doing well, feeling good, functioning well day to day and overall? So it's not all the time, most of the time they feel good and they function well. And adolescence, that takes a natural dip anyway. I personally think all teenagers need coaching, a short intervention of coaching. Young girls, 16-year-old girls, their well-being naturally dips. They should all have coaching at 16. Male, young, working class white boys, they are struggling and they need coaching to help with their self-awareness and accountability and aspiration and all of that stuff. All teenagers need coaching, in my opinion. Wellbeing is also physical health and positive emotions, that experience of positive emotion. I feel good. I can experience happiness and joy and contentment. We're aiming for contentment, not hedonic happiness all the time. We can't maintain that. We want to feel contentment most of the time. That's what a good well-being looks like. But can you think of young people that you work with? Do you think most of them feel contented most of the time? I don't think they do. I don't think a lot of young people do. And then social connection. So I said that earlier, like positive relationships are massively important for young people. So then resilience, so a lot of the things that help a young person improve well-being also help them improve resilience, but resilience needs adversity. And one person's adversity is different to another, so that's subjective. But resilience means that you can cope with adversity and you can navigate through it, often becoming a better person because of the adversity. If that's the type of, there's different types of resilience. That you're adaptable, that you're able to navigate challenges and setbacks, that you can recover after stress back to that happiness set point of contentment like I talked about, and that you're using your problem solving skills to navigate those challenges and adversities as they come along. Adversity might be failing your mocks, it might be something happening at home, it might be that you didn't get the job that you wanted to do or the college or the university that you wanted to apply for. It could be that your friends have rejected you and you fell out with them. It could be that you've got kicked out the football team. One person's adversity is different to another's, but it's the ability to navigate those challenges and setbacks and have the resources, usually the thinking skills to be like, well, maybe it just wasn't my time next time, or maybe I didn't try, maybe I didn't train hard enough and that's what I need to learn. So next time I try harder, rather than it's the end of the world. And both of them have supportive relationships. They both protect mental health. They both are dynamic and buildable and teachable, and they both enable young people to flourish. So again, I believe that the coaching approach is almost like the pedagogy for having the positive relationship that enables well-being and flourishing, well-being and resilience to develop with young people. Right, so I've done. So what I did, how I arrived here and getting this slide for you guys. I'm very excited about this slide. It looks kind of boring, but it's quite exciting. Is I analysed 70 something young people's qualitative feedback that have done our coaching interventions over the years. A lot of them were around school avoidance, before it was called school avoidance, and also NEET prevention. So I've aligned that to the Ofsted framework, and I've even put the page number of where to find it. So let's go through this. So the different themes, so these themes here on the side are the themes that came from synthesizing the feedback from the students, from the young people that have had the coaching. So these are and if you think about what I just talked about with my diagram, you can see how it aligns. So different coaching outcomes are self-awareness and reflection. This is evidenced by young people reporting better understanding of their thoughts, feelings and behaviour, metacognition, recognising their strengths, character development is in the new Ofsted framework, and reflecting on how their reactions affect their day and their relationships, which aligns with personal development. And pupils become more reflective and confident and resilient and understand themselves and others better. And we have emotional regulation and coping. So students are learning strategies through like cognitive strategies such as thought stopping, breath work, relaxation, distraction, and positive thinking to manage their anger and anxiety. So that emotional regulation, which is part of behaviour and attitudes, mapped to Ofsted by managing emotions that regulate behaviour and resolve conflict positively. Confidence and positive self-belief. Young people are reported to feel happier, recognising strengths, expressing opinions confidently and believing in their ability to achieve. Schools support pupils to develop confidence, resilience and independence. That's that accountability and responsibility I talked about earlier. Improved relationships and trust. Students are describe stronger friendships, trusting teachers and parents more, feeling able to talk about their feelings, asking for help, and the ability to help young people learn strategies to ask for help, and not only just ask for it, but receive it. It's a two-way process, is a massive outcome of a coaching intervention. Positive relationships, develop kindness, empathy, respect between pupils and staff. That's going to help your behaviour policies and your ethos and culture of respect and all those things. Engagement with school and learning. Students reported improved attendance, greater motivation to attend school, improved effort in schoolwork and increased enjoyment of school. Kids are not going to go to school if they don't like it. I know we've got a massive issue around attendance and school avoidance and things. So that fits into behaviour and attitudes. Schools promote positive attitudes to learning and improved attendance. Help seeking and accessing support. Students reported increased confidence to speak to teachers, parents and professionals and to seek support when needed. A theme that often comes up is that young people don't want to be a bother. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to tell anyone about their issue, or their issue's not bad enough. They don't want us to be seen to go to pastoral because then everyone will know that they need help and that there's something wrong with them and they're weird. So normalising help-seeking behaviour and helping young people realise that being resilient isn't having to just put a brave face on and do it all yourself. It's actually saying, this is too difficult, I can't cope on my own, I need help, is massively helpful for the prevention of long-term mental health problems. And also nipping the low-level issues in the bud, like I talked about earlier. So that's part of safeguarding and personal development. If pupils feel safe to know who to go for to help and support. And improve well-being. Young people reported feeling calmer, happier, less anxious and more in control of their emotions in daily life. Schools will promote pupils' personal development growth so they can thrive in life and education. So as you can see, that coaching aligns with Ofsted, basically what schools want to see. And these are some ways which you could evidence it if you're doing a coaching approach. So in summary, this is the summary. Coaching evidence demonstrates impact across 3 key areas, and it does inclusion, but I've not talked about inclusion much because I couldn't fit it all in 1 hour. But yeah, it helps with inclusion too. Personal development and wellbeing, confidence, resilience, reflection, wellbeing, attendance, behavior and attitudes, emotional regulation, motivation and engagement in learning, and safeguarding, help seeking, having the role of trusted adults, and increasing access to support, or how of adding coaching as a string to your bow, or an intervention in your school can help. And this is some quantitative data on coaching programs that we've done in the past. Last 2 on, that's this one. Anxiety, depression, stress scale. So this was anxiety levels before coaching, this was anxiety after, depression levels before, after, stress levels before and after, stress being the highest. A lot of young people say they've got anxiety, it's actually stress, and stress isn't a mental health problem, it's a reaction to too much pressure and not enough resources, not enough perceived resources to be able to navigate that. But everyone's self-labeling themselves as having anxiety and needing to go to CAMHS, where we know that the CAMHS threshold's so high, it's really serious, you can't get access to it. Even young people with extreme needs are finding it hard to access mental health interventions. But some of them don't have a mental health need, they need something like coaching to help reduce stress and increase positive coping. Then we have the SDQ, which you'll be familiar with, which is Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire. My issue with the SDQ is it's called Strengths, but it only has 1 strength, which is pro-social behaviour. So this is the emotional regulation before and after, conduct problems before and after, peer problems before and after, hyperactivity before and after, and pro-social behaviour goes up. So that one should go up and those ones should go down. So this is the mean score of coaching before and after. So you can see it's not just qualitative, it is quantitative. Now, it's really hard to measure, so I haven't got that much qualitative data, and I'm a quantitative researcher. So I prefer to know how things work and like what young people say. How do you use coaching then? So how does it work in reality practice? So it's through that process. So coaching is 3 steps, a coaching process. Coaching skills, which you specifically use, and a way of being, which is that way of being as your role as the coach creates that supportive, safe relationship that enables a young person to practice and experience strategies for well-being and try them out in that safe relationship. So it's the process. So you're, as the coach, you're managing that process, which is a structured process with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And through that process of coaching, they practice the skills and experience change, and then they kind of go away and come back and have a go at using some of the tools and things that your work is working on, or they reflect on some of the questions that they've been asking, or they go and get feedback from other people and they come back and tell you how it went, so that you're creating that accountability for them. One of my issues around like self-help or just giving out resources, because everyone wants a resource and I can give you resources until they come out your ears, but unless you've got that relationship with a young person where you're actually holding them to account to use that resource effectively, you might as well just chuck it in the bin. So, you know, with young people, it's about helping them learn the wellbeing strategies that they might get from a resource, or they might learn themselves, and holding them account to help them to use that and make it their own and apply it to their own situations and their own lives. And you do that through the process. The skills that you're using are a range of interactive and adaptive skills and strategies drawn from positive psychology and coaching psychology. So listening, using questions, feedback, being supportive, being empowered, empowering empathy, reframing, scaling, all these like different solution focused techniques that you would learn and you would use, and then you kind of have like a toolkit in your head, literal tools of PDF resources, because I'll give you 40 of them, but like you have a toolkit in your head and you meet a young person and you'll be like, it seems like they've got a bit of an issue around coming out their comfort zone, or they seem to have a lot of negative self-talk, so the strategy I'm going to try with them is this. But you kind of just start to do it intuitively. And then the way of being, so who you are as a person. And obviously, if you're in a pastoral role or a teaching role, you've already got a natural way of building to be able to build rapport with young people that you're working with, so that you naturally have got some of these skills already. You're just taking what you've already got and enhancing it more to contain it in a coaching relationship. So the way of being is your ability to build that relationship of rapport and trust. Hope, that you have hope and belief for the young person. Positivity, you can offer gentle challenge, and being non-judgmental. So that's really important to young people from their perspective. So when you train to use coaching, you learn all these 3 things, and then you use them all through that coaching process, basically. Where does coaching fit with other support? You might have school counsellor already, you might be mentoring already, you might have mentors. So the metaphor of the car is the best way to describe this. A therapist will help you explore what is stopping you from driving the car. A counsellor will listen to your anxieties about the car. A mentor will share tips and his or her experience of driving cars. A teacher will teach you how to drive the car. A coach will encourage you and support you to drive the car yourself. That's quite a nice way of showing where it positions. You can be a mentor and a coach. And just kind of using the different tools and flexing between different approaches depending on what the young person that you're working with needs. The first table that I gave you was feedback from young people themselves that I then mapped to Ofsted. This is feedback from coaches that I've trained, that through their evaluation of their impact. I do an impact evaluation after I've trained them. I say, how have you noticed any changes in the young people that you're coaching, and what are they? And this is a summary of the themes that came out of that evaluation. So coaches I've trained, when they've worked with young people, have seen these things, because as I said earlier, my passion is increasing capacity for more young people to experience coaching and benefit from it. So confidence and self-belief. Young people are more confident expressing themselves and pursuing opportunities such as jobs or college. So it's a lot about goal setting and helping them identify a goal that's meaningful to them and helping them move towards it. Goal striving behaviour is what I call that. So you have to be careful with goal setting and coaching for young people, that they're not just giving you a goal to shut you up or get you off their case or tell you what their parents' goal is or what they think their goal should be, like I should get 5 A stars or whatever. That the goal is their goal that they want to achieve for them, and that goal might be feel happier, that goal might have make more friends, but that's what's going to help improve their well-being and resilience. Self-awareness and independent thinking, stronger reflection and decision making. This is why the kids are not so reactive. They're actually slowing down their thinking and their thought patterns and their reactions and choosing better reactions. That's where it's going to help improve behaviour, helping young people to identify their own solutions to deal with challenges and setbacks and things. Emotional wellbeing and resilience, improved ability to manage stress, anxiety and challenges, engagement with education and future goals, increased motivation, better attendance, clearer pathways. That's where the NEET prevention comes in, which I'm very passionate about. Communication and relationships, more open communication and stronger relationships with peer and adults. Hope and positive outlook, greater optimism for the future and belief in their potential. Oh, that makes me feel emotional. That's what we want to give them when they're at school, isn't it? Hope for themselves and greater optimism about the future and belief in their own potential. Isn't that the purpose of school? So, like, if you can give that to them through a short coaching program or integrating coaching into your school culture, amazing. That's a whole sort of theme, I think, with the new Ofsted personal development strand. I think that's what it wants schools to do, but Ofsted can't say do this. They have to say figure it out yourself the hard way. Different roles in coaching. So anyone who works with young people could integrate coaching into their role. So here's a few suggestions: school leader, SENCO, teacher, mentor, support worker, tutor, counsellor, pastoral, teaching assistant. I've also trained youth workers, youth offending nurses, like school nurses, and health visitors. Who else? People that are working for charities in early prevention roles, in sort of wellbeing hubs and things like that. So all can use coaching or a coaching skills and way of being in your role and remit. So a sort of rhetorical question to think about is, how could you use coaching in your current role? Implications for schools and funders. Evidence, basically, to sum it all up. So I've also been looking at all the literature around like coaching and positive psychology and schools, and there isn't that much literature, to be honest. It is an emerging field. It's coaching in schools is a lot more around professional development or teacher development or leadership, not coaching for students. But I've been doing coaching, like I said earlier, been doing this for 15 years. So evidence indicates that coaching is a cost-effective early intervention for wellbeing and prevention. It's scalable within schools and colleges and youth services. It's effective for disengaged and vulnerable young people. So it can work more effectively for those young people who are targeted and at risk. I haven't talked much about targeting the intervention, but targeted cohorts of young people are those that you know are struggling because of the situations that they're in. They're in care. They're known to social services. The at-risk cohorts, LGBTQ+, young carers, children whose parents have got a mental health problem, children that you know have had a family breakup or they're struggling with transition, SEND students. So this is where it doesn't relate to inclusion as well. Kids that you know are wobbling around their attendance, and if you can nip it in the bud, it's not going to go to long-term programs of getting them back in or them having to be homeschooled and that kind of stuff. Complementary or existing pastoral, and it is complementary to existing or pastoral or safeguarding systems. So I've worked with people who are like pastoral roles in schools, and they've ended up creating a coaching role for themselves, and then are running like regular programs of coaching for young people. So coaching, so in summary, coaching is an evidence-informed approach that strengthens young people's confidence, resilience and engagement, supporting both educational outcomes and long-term life chances, aligns strongly with Ofsted's priorities for personal development and well-being. I wish it said in there, coaching is an approach that you could use, but it doesn't. I'm putting the dots together for you to help you see this as a potential solution, basically. So thinking about your practice, there might be some food for thought that you might have thought, I've never thought about it that thought. I never even heard about coaching before. Liz was going on about it. So where could it fit for you? It could fit with you enhancing your current skills and expertise to support students. Maybe you're a pastoral member of staff and you're dealing with a lot of young people all the time, and you want to feel more confident and resourced to have more of a process and a structured framework to then move them forward with much more tools and resources and a confidence to know that what you're doing is helping, and that you want to be able to see them changing. So enhancing current skills and expertise. Maybe you want to set up an in-school coach, or you want to be the in-school coach, or you want to set up a wellbeing programs or targeted interventions because there's just none locally, or it's all been cut, or you know that there's an issue around anxiety or boys' apathy or girls' confidence or whatever, and you want to develop a in-school targeted short-term intervention. So coaching can be your methodology for doing that, and I have all the resources for you to be able to do that. So you just make it, because I don't teach you like do X, Y, Z. I'm like, here's how it works, here's why it works, here's all the things that you need to do, and so you learn the nuts and bolts so you can put it together yourself, because I think that's more important than because every young person's different and every school context is different. So you need to understand how it works and the levers that you can pull so that you can know which ones to use with the young person that's in front of you. And then the other sort of way of using coaching is to lead an ethos for personal development and wellbeing strategy. So one of the guys that was on one of my previous cohorts, he was an assistant head in a PRU in up north, some Halifax, I think. And what they did is he actually was then leading a coaching approach in his school and disseminating it out to colleagues, reduced the amount of behaviour incidents by 80% or something like that. So having that coaching ethos and all staff working to the same ethos had a significant impact on the reduction of behaviour in his school with children that are struggling with their behaviour. So it can help lead an ethos and strategy for personal development and wellbeing. Coaching is the personal development intervention. So if you're having a culture where you're integrating a coaching ethos and coaching approach into everything, then it's going to have a positive effect on behaviour. And whether that is you just pick one thing and do that consistently throughout a whole academic year, like listening, or using questions or using a solution focused approach. You don't have to throw the kitchen sink at it, you know, do everything. It's about picking one or two things and doing them consistently and thoroughly across every layer of your school culture. Staff, non-teaching staff, teaching staff, ethos, policy, process, place, in targeted intervention, in curriculum where possible. So you're integrating it in multiple layers. I've got an accredited coach training course. It's accredited by the Association for Coaching. It's the only one that's about using coaching integrated with positive psychology for vulnerable young people. All young people are vulnerable, to be honest. It takes 60 hours to complete it. There are 6 4-hour Zoom workshops that are practical, and in between that there's videos and online learning. You do the online learning in the videos, and then you come to the 6 live sessions where you learn the skills and tools and practice them and reflect upon how you can use those with the young people that you're working with. There's 7 online modules, a downloadable toolkit of 40 resources, and then you can come to 2 group supervisions. I run 6 a year. And you have to do 20 hours of coaching with students, which if you're in a school, that's easy. You've got tons of them that need help. That's about 3 to 5 young people. And then you pick from the 20 hours 5 reflective logs where I want to see how you're using everything you're learning and making it your own. And you also get a bonus group coaching module, which is about helping you develop coaching into group interventions and programs if that's what you want to do. Get the prospectus, that's the best thing to do, or do the Introduction to Coaching free course. That's about 80 minutes long. Again, you can do it bit by bit. Yeah, if you join, it's a 2-part application process. You have to apply and then join.